as we know, it's much easier to decide before we're in that moment. We wake up, we feel motivated, we're raring to go. But, once the nighttime hits, it's like we're a different person.
What a response to last week's podcast. I am telling you what, we got a lot of emails. It was so great to hear from everybody. But what surprised me most, people don't realize what an emotional, caring guy you are. We got so many comments about that, and you really are. I mean, I don't think you would be doing what you're doing if you didn't feel emotional and really care, right?
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I've been at this for 18 years. You don't do what you do for 18 years unless you truly care. This is my life's work. So I appreciate that acknowledgement.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure to get to be here with you and walk side by side and do this work, because it is emotional. we invest a lot and we really do care.
We do. And likewise, feeling is mutual for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, now what I want to know is, what was the number one topic that came up in these emails? What did you hear most?
The nighttime is a very challenging time. Email after email.
Say that again.
The email after email, was the nighttime is when the wheels start to come off.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's dig in today and see if we can't give some people some ideas and some hope. This is not the end. This is just the next challenge, right?
Exactly. So let's get started. The first step and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to share some questions with you. I love questions.
Okay.
The right questions can change our perspective. When we change our perspective, that's what leads to breakthroughs, right? That's what it's all about. So I'm just going to list them out. I'm going to read them out. No order, no numbers. Just here we go. What does the nighttime represent to me? Am I lonely? Do I wish I was with a lover? Am I dreading another day of work? Do I have anything to look forward to? Am I overwhelmed by all the stuff around me? Am I overwhelmed by all the stuff that needs to get done? When is the last time I truly had fun? Am I bored? Am I intellectually challenged? Does my significant other make me feel lonely because I don't connect with them in a way that I want?
Those are some heavy-hitting questions for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah. So the idea is, it's important to understand how food is serving us in this nighttime eating period, right? So these questions are really trying to unravel that, because there's an opportunity. If we understand how food is serving us, then we can do something about it, correct?
Exactly. These questions help bring to surface what might be there, what might be dormant. They bring to light. And that's the idea, because awareness is so important, right? We can't change what we're not aware about, obviously. So these questions help with that.
Okay, but change, right? Some of these situations might not be something you can change. So then what?
Right. So some of these questions could lead to daunting answers and possibilities and repercussions and all sorts of things. My advice to you is, if you can't change what is, or if you don't want to change what is, you might as well work to accept it. Otherwise, you're going to suffer.
Yep.
So you might acknowledge something's amiss in something, whether it's a job, a relationship, whatever it might be. You can work to change it, which is a daunting thing. And you don't necessarily have to do that right away or ever do that. But at the very least, you might as well work to accept it and make the most of it.
Right. And without that acceptance, if you're not going to change it, you end up in resistance and then guess what? The cycle of food, the cycle of needing something to help you with how you're feeling about everything is going to continue.
Right.
So, yeah. And there's discomfort on all sides, by the way. Like there's no magic solution here with these questions and getting these answers, but they are the place to start. They do require some time and consideration, a significant amount of thought work, right?
No doubt. And some of them are not so deep. I mean, am I bored? Or is there something I have, do I have anything to look forward to, right? Some of them aren't necessarily life-changing questions or with life-changing, consequences if you do something about it. Some of them aren't as deep, but the idea is they bring to surface. But if they are one of those bigger questions, tread lightly. And, you again, if you're not willing to change what is, or you don't want to change what is right now, you might as well work to accept it. I think that's just a good, philosophy in life, right? Because otherwise you're really just going to suffer.
It is. We should add another question to the list, though.
Give it to me.
And it's, why wouldn't I want to change my night eating?
I like that. As you said earlier.
Right? Like,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
Every behavior we do, positive or negative, is serving us in some way, right? So why wouldn't I want to change my nighttime eating? Likely, you're going to have to deal with uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable thoughts, all sorts of things. But I do think that's a great question. One of my favorite questions that I've learned in 18 plus years of coaching is, I don't know if this is a question actually. Well, it is a question. Well, I don't know. Hear me out.
Okay.
Something I've learned is I can only help people solve their problems until I find out why they like having them. Right. So to your point, very similar is like, well, how does this make me, clearly it's serving you in some way, right? Why do you like nighttime eating?
Right. Yeah. Which could also lead you into one of your bigger questions, right? Like if somebody's really struggling, like you just listed all those questions, they're like, yeah, none of that's resonating with me. If you ask yourself, why don't I want to give this up? You'll get the question you should be asking yourself, right? Like, why don't I want to quit night eating? Well, because it's pleasurable. So the question to ask yourself is, do I need pleasure? Right? Okay, obviously we do. Well, how else can we get it? Right? So it can kind of lead you to the bigger issue at hand. So yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile question. And then, yeah, why don't you want to give it up? Why do you like having this problem?
Exactly.
So,
all right. Next method of improving, managing, overcoming nighttime eating. Let's get tactical.
Oh, wait, you're emotional and you sing?
I'm really, is that a triple threat, double threat, everything?
I'm not even sure at this point. There's so many threats.
So let's get tactical. We got some proven tactics for you. Everyone loves some tactics. And these are tactics you could implement tonight.
Yeah. Or if you're going to try on one of mine earlier than tonight, because I like to get ahead of things. I have 2 to share that need to come in advance of really dinner if you want to look for a time to implement them. You cool if I go first?
Love it. Give it to me.
Okay, I'm gonna. Number 1 is a transition. It's something I implement with many of my clients. A lot of my clients, as many of you out there listening do as well, have full-time work, whether it's running a household or running a business or whatever the case is. And then you have to shift gears and become, significant other, parent, caregiver, whatever the case is. So I implement a transition period in the afternoon, evening. And this is not significant. I'm not talking about an hour of time, right? But it's a moment between those 2 spots in somebody's day, Adam, where they stop, they wrap up the first part of their day, and they set themselves up for the rest of the day. So it could look like literally writing down a couple of notes, setting intentions for how they want to manage food the rest of the evening, how they want to feel when they go to bed at night. I have clients doing meditation. I have clients taking a brief walk, just giving yourself a second to check in, see what you need before you then turn yourself over to the rest of the day. And it really does help kind of catch a lot of things that we otherwise might miss and then end up relying on food to help us deal with later on. So that's tactic number one. Number two is something I call the self-care package. And this is kind of like a step down from just flat out not eating after dinner, because that's kind of what we're talking about here. And that, by the way, can happen from like after dinner on into the night. But a self-care package is like a message from the earlier in the day you that's thinking about the you that struggles at the end of the night with whatever you're feeling, right? And so what I've had clients do is pick out the food they want to eat if they need to eat at night, which sounds counterintuitive, I know, because
like that.
Yeah, we're trying to eventually overcome this practice, this behavior. But what I've had success with is clients identifying a couple of things and putting boundaries on it, right? Like they're picking out their portion, they're picking out what it is, and they're putting it, go with me, in a box. I've had clients wrap that box and put a bow on it and put a little love note on there to their nighttime selves. It sounds like a lot, but if you think about it, first of all, you're putting a lot of speed bumps.
Yes.
On your road to nighttime eating. It also takes a lot of consideration and a lot of love from the other part of you, right? Like that took the time to set these boundaries, to wrap this up, to think of what it is you might need. So that's you mentioned nighttime eating management. That's kind of a management step in helping you hopefully catch some of your needs in a more thoughtful way.
So good. Few thoughts.
Thanks.
Hopefully I don't forget them. Number one, we've talked about nighttime eating, of course. That's the whole idea of this video podcast. For me, nighttime eating is something I do. For me, I think when people say nighttime eating and how they want to stop it, it's really about the nighttime eating that makes them feel bad, right? Where they wake up the next morning like, oh, what did I do? Did I do that? Did I do that again? Right? That's the type of nighttime eating that we're talking about. So I always think it's much easier to your point about giving yourself the gift, it's much easier to replace a behavior than quit one. And one of my favorite things to do is watch TV while eating some food, but the type of food we eat matters, right? So that's number one. Number two, you mentioned speed bumps. I think it's just worth refreshing people. Speed bump is anything that makes you think or anything that gives you an opportunity to catch yourself and check in with yourself and say, hey, do I really want more, right? A perfect example of this is if you're eating chips, instead of eating out of a big bag, you put them into smaller bags. This way, once you eat that smaller bag, if you want more, you have to get another small bag and check in with yourself, right? So anytime you can implement speed bumps, always effective, very powerful strategy. And then you also mentioned, what you're kind of shared is this idea and the strategy of pre-commitment, which always made me laugh, by the way, because like you can't commit to something in the past. It's always going to be in the future. But anyway, the strategy is technically called pre-commitment. And you're deciding what you're going to do in advance, right? Because as we know, it's much easier to decide before we're in that moment. We wake up, we feel motivated, we're raring to go. But once the nighttime hits, it's like we're a different person. So if you can set yourself up for success before you're in that moment, you're making it a lot easier on yourself.
Yes.
And then
absolutely.
Last but not least, it's funny when you said the word stop and then you pause for a little bit. All I can think about was stop, collaborate, and listen. Little Ice Baby. So I went there for a little bit.
Wow. You did. You were like full of the performance today. You're not going to rap for us?
Rapping is something I cannot do.
Oh, come on.
All right. I'm going to share some of my tactics.
Okay, I'm ready.
So kind of in line with what you were sharing, which is setting yourself up before the moment. I love when we have a challenging time of day, let's always look at the meal before. So having a bigger dinner is a very easy and effective strategy. And some of you might be saying, well, I don't want to eat more. But I would argue it is far more effective to eat a little more dinner and eat a lot less later on at night. And yes, just because you ate a big dinner doesn't mean you won't eat later, but at the very least, you want to prevent yourself from being physically hungry later on, right? Yes. The emotional hunger still might be there, no doubt, but you don't want to be physically hungry later on. So the meal before the challenging time is always a great thing to look at and improve. And this, as we talked about recently, eating more to eat less. This is a perfect example of that.
Yep.
Number two, that something I do and I've helped a lot of clients do, and it's really worked well. As I said, I love watching TV and eating. So for me, it's not necessarily about stopping nighttime eating altogether. It's about eating foods that make me feel good before, during, and after. And for me, fruit is the ultimate hack. It is truly nature's candy. It really works. The key thing for me, though, and this is like so simple, but it makes all the difference. I prepare, kind of like what you do. I prepare, and I have my clients do the same, prepare the food they're going to eat after dinner before dinner. This way there is no preparation involved. There is no resistance. There's no friction. There's nothing. The fruit is in a bowl, on a plate, whatever you want to do, however you want to eat it. It's ready to go. That's really important because it makes it so much easier to just start eating the fruit. If I have to start thinking, cutting this and that, what do I want? No, the fruit's ready to go.
Love it.
Brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth is one of those things that people say, yes, that sounds great, but they don't often actually test drive it. They don't actually do it. It is amazing how effective washing up for the night, brushing, flossing, using mouthwash, cleaning your face, basically doing your nighttime ritual, if you have one, before you're exhausted. One of the hardest parts about going to bed is like, oh, I have all this stuff. I have to clean up. I have to brush my teeth. Like, do that right after your fruit. And this way you can come back down if you want and watch TV or whatever, and you're already done with that step.
Yes.
So this way, when you're tired and you start to pass out, you can just go right up to your bed. You don't have to interrupt that sleepiness to wash up and brush your teeth.
You have never seen a more angry me than the one who waited till right before bed to wash my face, brush, and floss.
Right? It's like, oh, and then, yeah.
I'm like a demon.
Yes. It's tough.
Yeah. But just to kind of tag on to that, like, if you try this one, if you try the brushing your teeth after dinner, be prepared for the dance that your brain is going to go through.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you have this experience, Adam, but I have to say I successfully implement this a good bit of the time where I come right down after dinner, but my brain goes, oh, but what if you decide you want something else?
That's the idea. That's the thing, right? Your brain does not want to give that option up.
No.
It wants that option
just
open.
Brush your teeth anyway.
Right.
Just brush your teeth anyway.
Who wants to eat after brushing your teeth? Everything, it changes the taste. It's like,
I know.
And we know that on some level, and on some level, we don't want to give that option up. So I would challenge you to try it. It's really, really effective. And it's nice. You're setting yourself up for like just such a nicer bedtime routine. You just go up, you're tired, you have your pre-sleep sleep. You snooze on the couch, which is always so fun. But then to have to go up and brush your teeth or whatever, it's like, who wants that?
That's the worst.
Yeah. And last but not least, I think, is just avoiding temptations. Like in some of the emails I received from the last week, it's just like, do you have to keep that in your house? This is my life's work. I live for what I do. Besides my family, this is what I live for. Ice cream is my kryptonite. If ice cream is in my house, like, it is really hard for me. It is really challenging for me. So I try not to have ice cream in the house. That is a trigger food for me. We do not get bonus points for using Hero like willpower. It is much easier to avoid the dragon than it is to slay it. So if you don't need the ice cream or the chips or whatever it might be that is your go-to nighttime comfort food, get rid of it. And if you can't, make it very hard to get to. Maybe you can put it in a different freezer in a different part of the house. Whatever it might be, out of sight definitely helps a little bit with out of mind.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, if you won't get rid of it, circle back to our last question, which is, why do I not want to give up nighttime eating?
Right.
Right? Whew.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Remember, it's never about the food. It's about what the food allows us to avoid and or the void it fills. No matter the time of day, especially at night.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I'm really hopeful and excited about this video, this podcast, whatever you want to call it. My challenge for you this week, how about what tactic are you willing to commit to for a full week? Because as we know, I mean, even a week is not long enough, but we'll leave it there. What tactic are you willing to commit to for a full week? You got to test drive these things, and you got to do it over and over. Remember, practice at first feels uncomfortable. It's weird. It doesn't feel right. There's wins, there's losses. We feel good. We don't feel good. But you do the practice long enough, it becomes routine. And if you do the routine long enough, it becomes habitual. The practice is where the magic happens. The messy middles, the frustrations, I got this, I don't got this, the here I go again, like all that, that's all part of practice. But you got to persist, right? That's where we're come from. That's why we're here, right? Use your coach. Talk with your coach about this. This is where we can help you.
Absolutely. I love it. It's a great challenge. It's a week. You can do it. Let us know which tactic you pick, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take good care.
Night, night.